Things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
The buzz this morning centers around Meghan Markle's father.
It was because of Meghan that it was taken away. Meghan could have had her there if she wanted to have her there. Instead, she wanted to have a bunch of celebrities she barely knew, from the Clooneys to the Beckhams to Elton John to James Gordon to Timbuktu. I mean, it looked like anyone she'd met on the party circuit in the British.
As our fathers, so we have to include the men when we are self-glorifying. You know, there's got to be some acknowledgement there.
Described as a devastating betrayal, this revelation could change everything we thought we knew about the Duchess of Sussex.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
When she said, I lost my father, we knew that she didn't lose our dad. She iced our father.
Tragic news coming in. Meghan Markle's father, Thomas Markle, is undergoing leg amputation.
Something like that. So she wasn't even pregnant. It's very weird. And Harry, it was said to Harry, not to her. I mean, she just came in.
All right, I do blame Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, stain of humanity. Yes, Meghan, and I hope you're watching right now. I hope you're watching, Meghan, because you are the stain of humanity.
Lady C, after Thomas Markle Jr. this week described Meghan Markle as previously having been a, quote, yacht girl, there have been more revelations going viral from the past.
Before we even touch the family drama, before the yachts, before the pregnancies, we need to focus on one single number.
And I thought, what is she not contextually aware if she's trying to hide something? This is really sloppy pool.
Thomas Markle Jr., the sister of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has lashed out at his sister and her husband, Prince Harry, in the most brutal interview he has ever given.
Because if that number isn't right, and there are strong reasons to question it, then the entire timeline she has shared with the world suddenly looks very different from the start. And the one person who would know that number better than almost anyone, her own sister Samantha, who was there the day she was born. Stay with me here, because today we're looking at three separate people who never coordinated, never compared notes, yet somehow they're all pointing in the same direction.
Know us. You know, it's just very bizarre how she just basically brushed the entire family under the carpet like we don't exist, and then lied about not having a family and lied about she doesn't have a family that she's always wanted. You know, we've always been.
The official story says August 4th, 1981. That date shows up everywhere. But Thomas Markle Sr., her own father, gave an interview shortly after the royal wedding where he spoke about the day she was born.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has someone.
And used the words 40 years ago. Now think about that. That interview happened in 2018. 40 years earlier places the birth closer to 1978, not 1981, a noticeable gap coming from the man who was actually present when she entered the world. Not a rumor site, not an outsider, her own father.
When you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that is.
Many viewers immediately picked up on this detail. People started doing the math, and naturally the questions followed. If the age doesn't line up, what else in the timeline might not line up? Thomas Markle Jr. has also publicly claimed she did not complete her final semester at Northwestern.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future.
Not that it was difficult, but that she didn't finish at all. So if the graduation year becomes uncertain and the birth year becomes uncertain, then that entire stretch of years she describes as her struggling actress phase in Los Angeles suddenly becomes harder to clearly track.
Lady Colin Campbell, what do you think?
Oh, I'm familiar with it, Dan, and I'm sure you are as well. I've been familiar with it for a long time, and in fact, I've seen the tapes. I've got them somewhere. God knows where now. I've got them on some.
So you've seen Nudie Rudy Meghan too?
Those are exactly the years where unanswered questions begin stacking up. Some relatives have mentioned a possible early life chapter when she was around 18 or 19. Reports suggest the individual connected to this chapter would now be around 30.
is always attempting to, shall we say, build relationships with very, very, very rich men.
Royal family, you should be so thankful this woman wanted to leave because she's not going to bring any good to the branding of royal. She's going to downgrade it to a level of ghetto. And that's what it is. This is just bad.
Possibly even starting a family of their own, which dramatically changes the public timeline people think they know. This chapter has never been publicly addressed in major interviews, not in high-profile television conversations, not in streaming documentaries, not in the many moments where she has shared her personal story.
She's decided you're all too big a problem. Therefore, you have to be cut loose. And I got to be honest, I knew Meghan for a bit before she met Harry. Did exactly the same to me. Bang, done. She did that to many people that she knew, that she'd either worked with or was friends with or whatever. It just seems to me she's what I would call...
If any part of this timeline were accurate, it would reshape how people interpret the narrative surrounding later milestones entirely. An age that raises eyebrows, an academic timeline that invites questions, and a chapter of life that remains unclear.
She's already gotten the benefit of her bargain with Harry because she got the title. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be world famous. She wanted the title. You remember when Harry was single, he was the elephant. He was the one, the most eligible bachelor on earth. You could be a royal. You could become world famous overnight. You could live in a castle. You could have access to the crown jewels. You would be a princess. My God, yes, he could have had his...
Now let's talk about the years that remain difficult to explain. The story presented publicly is familiar. Aspiring actress in Los Angeles, small roles, modest paychecks, briefcase assistant on Deal or No Deal, short appearances on shows like CSI. The classic entertainment industry grind people recognize. It's a relatable journey.
Give her anything else anymore. He served his purpose. His purpose is over, and they're no longer aligned in purpose. So for her, it's time to move on.
And audiences understand that kind of climb. But during those exact same years, photographs exist. Real documented images showing her at luxury yacht gatherings across the Mediterranean, exclusive Monaco parties, elite social circles, private decks surrounded by high-profile figures.
I don't think that she'll ever let Harry go because she is so fixated on having a title that she doesn't even have or deserve anymore, right? Yeah. Technically, she's not part of the royal family. On paper, on the website, Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And I think that's her biggest, that's anybody's biggest mistake in their entire life.
Events that most people never receive invitations to in their entire lives. Naturally, questions follow. How did those invitations happen? Who opened those doors? What connections placed her inside those circles at that stage of her career? Because a briefcase role alone doesn't usually lead to Monaco. It typically doesn't lead to private yachts in Croatia.
I think your sister, Meghan Markle, has ruined Prince Harry.
The answer is yes. I mean, every single interview, every single picture, every place they go, Meghan grabs him. Meghan controls him. Meghan tells him no. Meghan stands in front of him. She controls every single situation like she is the star. And she's turned Prince Harry into a man of non-substance, for her own well-being.
And it rarely leads to entry into those extremely exclusive spaces. Author Kirby Summers has claimed that Meghan received an invitation to Yacht Week in Croatia back in 2016. This is not your typical vacation getaway.
It's just, mind-boggling how you can just continue to walk through life and not even give the man a phone call and pay for the best medical care that Dad needs right now. He's going through therapy, he's going through physical rehab. And, we're going to have to get him fitted for a prosthetic here pretty soon and get that man walking again. So that's the goal. That's the priority. And I'm good doing that. And I hope next time, Meghan, that you see a disabled person or somebody who has, only one leg, I hope you think real hard. And I hope karma beats the living Christ out of your mentality. Because God knows, Meghan, God knows. He's got a special place for you right next to that cabinet, When you're not even going to get up there, you're going straight to hell.
It's known as an exclusive floating social scene, where powerful people meet behind closed decks, where connections form quietly, far from public cameras. Access to events like this usually comes through influential circles. Invitations don't typically land in the inbox of someone still attending small auditions or chasing minor television appearances.
Keep in mind that Doria the snake, when she went into the church, when King Charles, well, the then Prince Charles, but we're going to call him King Charles for the purposes of this, was being kind to her, was buying her all those expensive clothes because she, for some reason, required like 10 or 20 gowns for that wedding. And of course, they all had to be very expensive. The cheapest one, I think, was like 4,000 pounds. He bought it. So when the royal family was bending over backwards to please these two grifters, Doria had already decided that this was going to be about race. That's what's coming down the pike. So when she stood on the stairs of that church, of that chapel where Harry and Meghan came out of, she was already, and her and Meghan had already hatched a plan and were ready to trash those people. She despised these people.
Observers have suggested that certain career opportunities appeared to follow social introductions rather than traditional casting calls. Her professional path seemed to expand through networks. Trevor Engelson, a Hollywood producer, later became her first husband. She gained entry into Soho House circles and developed connections with Marcus Anderson, a well-known insider with links to influential figures.
Any advice for Harry?
Yeah, stop talking about the royals. Stop giving away all the secrets about the royals. And, love your children and love your wife, but also love your grandmother and love your father.
Many believe these introductions helped open doors that shaped her acting opportunities, including her role in Suits. Eventually, those same circles placed her in environments where she met Prince Harry. Yet Thomas Markle Jr. has said he observed these changes firsthand.
In June 2020, this is during the whole thing of Harry and Meghan Markle. You have the Loving Kindness Senior Care Management Inc., right? This is where Doria Ragland is the CEO and she's the whole thing of the business. It was opened, it was established, or it was filed. This is opened by Meghan Markle's lawyers. And if you can see, the address is 0665 Wilshire Boulevard, 5th floor, Beverly Hills, which is pretty much, I think, her agent's, Meghan Markle's lawyer's address. This business has no physical address, and it is cash only. So she doesn't have a bank account for this.
Growing up in the same household, he has claimed he saw how social circles evolved, noticing moments where lifestyle changes appeared faster than expected. In 2018, he wrote an open letter to Prince Harry describing concerns about her personality, calling her shallow, a phony, and a bully.
So this is a criminal court case. This is for fraud. Apparently, the person who was under this court case spent 5 years in jail, almost 5 years in jail. And then she was released early for on probation for good behavior. And because she had somebody signed off on her release, saying that they would make sure that she was following the letter of the law. Apparently this case, apparently guys, this case was in let me see if I remember correctly, this case was in 1988. So this person was supposed to have been sentenced to 7 years in jail, but again, apparently this person got out 5 years earlier. Sorry, it only did 5 years, and then got out.
At the time, many dismissed the letter as family conflict playing out publicly. The royal wedding moved forward. Yet over the following years, public tensions with relatives, a departure from royal duties, and strained relationships became widely reported topics. Supporters and critics continue debating whether those early warnings carried any significance.
And she identifies herself as the mother of the Duchess of Sussex. So she is exploiting the brand of her daughter. And it's quite rich because Meghan Markle disown her own father for supposedly doing that? So she does identify that, and she says that she's a member of the royal family, which technically she is, because her daughter is married to a member of the royal family. So Meghan also is considered a member of the royal family. But it's interesting how she identifies herself, because you know why this is crucial? because being a member of the British royal family gives her credibility. People will trust her.
In May 2025, Thomas Markle Jr. announced plans for a book focusing on the years before Suits. According to early descriptions, the book promises to detail events and personal relationships that he believes challenge the public version of the timeline. Meanwhile, Thomas Markle Sr. has reportedly been receiving medical care in the Philippines, with family members supporting him during recovery.
One of the services they give is power of attorney. She takes over these elderly people's lives with a power of attorney. She helps you out with that, with a power of attorney. So she can run their lives of these very elderly, vulnerable people. If that doesn't set off alarm bells, while only taking cash, non-traceable transactions, only cash in hand.
The situation appears emotionally complicated. While public messaging often emphasizes unity and family values, personal relationships behind the scenes seem more strained. When individuals who feel unheard decide to speak openly, long-standing disagreements often resurface.
Exposing these people who hear the name Loving Kindness Senior Care Management, please beware. If you're the daughter or son of an elderly person and you're loving and you're elderly and you think that you're doing your parents a favor or your grandparents a favor by hiring Loving Kindness Senior Care Management, just beware that her father died under mysterious circumstances by tripping over a dog leash, and the wounds at the autopsy revealed that the wound was not consistent with the fall. Because if another elderly person trips over a dog leash with Doria around, or that is a client of Doria, I think that the FBI and the police should get involved. I think that the FBI and the police should get involved in this Loving Kindness Senior Care Management.
Doria Ragland has often been viewed as calm, composed, and supportive, especially during major public moments. However, accounts from individuals familiar with early stages of Meghan's relationship with Prince Harry suggest her reaction was immediate and surprised.
With Doria around, or that is a client of Doria, I think that the FBI and the police should get involved. I think that the FBI and the police should get involved in this Loving Kindness Senior Care Management.
Reportedly responding with, "Oh my God," upon hearing who Meghan was dating. Some commentators interpret this as instant recognition of the significance of the relationship.
According to Meghan, she was very close to her father when they were growing up. Her parents divorced when she was very young.
In June 2020, records show a California company called Loving Kindness Senior Care Management was registered with Doria Ragland, listed in executive roles.
As the father, the man who raised her solo when her mum ditched her during her teenage years. Things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
Public filings indicate a Wilshire Boulevard address in Beverly Hills connected to the business registration. The company provides senior support services, including assistance navigating legal matters such as power of attorney arrangements.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is. I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
In these situations, individuals may grant trusted representatives authority to help manage financial or administrative decisions. These types of services require high levels of trust. When elderly individuals seek assistance, reputation, and perceived credibility often play a major role in whom they feel comfortable working with. Royal connections can create powerful trust signals.
A bit disturbing. Saying that, she doesn't have a family, she doesn't have a father, and Harry saying that she has no father now. That's just ridiculous.
When people hear phrases connected to prestigious institutions, it often creates an instant sense of credibility and security. Records show that the business registration address overlapped with legal offices connected to Meghan's professional representation, which has raised eyebrows among commentators who follow these developments closely.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has someone.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
Observers have pointed out the contrast between public messaging about family distance and the existence of a business model focused on highly personal financial authority roles. Situations involving power of attorney naturally involve significant responsibility, as they can grant control over major life decisions, financial accounts, and long-term planning.
A doctor has come forward and has absolutely revealed, and you're going to listen to her. She has absolutely revealed and confirmed that Meghan Markle was never pregnant, never gave birth to any children.
Whenever legal authority intersects with trust-based relationships, people tend to look more closely at how those connections were formed. Thomas Markle Sr. was widely known to have supported Meghan's early ambitions.
Here, the doctor talks about both the children, and listen to what she says.
So you tell me to tell you something that maybe a dozen people actually know that's going to come out very soon. Okay. Meghan Markle, the reason why you watch her interviews and she just seems off, she's owned by a pharmaceutical company. The 2 children that she had, they're not hers. She didn't have them with Harry. And how her and Harry met is that she's a prostitute.
He helped fund education, introduced her to studio environments, and frequently spoke with pride about her future. Public interviews show he consistently described her as someone he deeply believed in. Yet after the royal wedding, communication reportedly became increasingly complicated. Reports suggest reaching her often required navigating multiple intermediaries, with many attempts receiving little response. Rather than a dramatic public conflict, the situation appeared to shift into distance and silence. During the intense media attention leading up to the wedding, Thomas Sr. faced significant public scrutiny. Without clear guidance on handling press pressure, he eventually agreed to stage photographs, a decision that quickly created global headlines. What remains widely discussed is that the photographer involved was reportedly...
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy. And when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
Not entirely disconnected from extended professional circles familiar with the situation. Whether coincidence or miscommunication, the outcome created lasting damage in family communication channels. Several major health crises later intensified public interest in the situation.
Meghan, a geriatric mother. The family claims and states that Meghan had a hysterectomy. How can a woman with a hysterectomy be pregnant? And most of all, why did the royal family go along with this? And what's going to happen now that this has come out? This is a punishable crime. This is fraud in the highest levels.
Before the wedding, Thomas Sr. experienced a serious heart condition requiring hospitalization. Later, a stroke significantly impacted his health and mobility, becoming international news coverage. In December 2025, he reportedly underwent emergency surgery in the Philippines after complications involving a blood clot created life-threatening risks. Family members were present during recovery as doctors worked to stabilize his condition. Across these moments, commentators often focus on whether reconciliation efforts took place privately or remained unresolved. When serious health events occur, the absence of visible public contact naturally fuels speculation about the state of personal relationships. For years, Samantha Markle's statements were frequently dismissed by critics as personal grievances. However, some observers note that certain dynamics she described, including limited access, controlled communication channels, and carefully managed public narratives.
A royal physician was not allowed to examine her womb. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but if I were pregnant with a royal child, you would want that child in the best care of the best medical practitioners that money could buy.
Later became subjects of broader media discussion. Royal biographer Tom Bower has publicly commented that early skepticism towards Samantha's claims shifted over time as more details entered public conversation. From that perspective, calls to re-examine earlier timelines are seen by some as attempts to clarify inconsistencies rather than simply revisit past disagreements.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly, truly bizarre.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
During a widely viewed television interview, Meghan stated, "I grew up as an only child." That remark sparked debate because Samantha has publicly maintained they shared periods of family life within the same household. Supporters argue the statement reflected emotional distance, while critics interpret it as an attempt to simplify a complicated upbringing narrative.
I do believe because there are no delivery certificates.
Questions about timelines resurfaced again in October 2018 when a pregnancy announcement came 5 months after the wedding. Public curiosity increased due to limited hospital details being publicly confirmed, leaving space for speculation among commentators attempting to reconstruct the sequence of events. Then came the public timeline that everyone thought they understood. October 2018, the pregnancy announcement appeared only 5 months after the wedding, immediately becoming global news. The story moved fast, the headlines moved faster, and suddenly every detail became a topic of public debate. People noticed something unusual. Normally, major royal milestones come with carefully documented appearances, structured updates, and clearly confirmed medical details.
According to Tom Bowers, Doria Ragland was back then a drug dealer in the set of the production of the soap opera or whatever it was that he was filming. He was doing the lighting for. She was a drug dealer, according to Tom Bowers. So this is a woman who was already out there in the dark world, Ragland Doria. And that was in 1997. And she was kicked out of. They had to kick her out. They had to take her to court because she refused to leave. And she owed them over, if I believe correctly, over $10,000 in 1997, way back when.
Yet in this case, many observers pointed out that certain expected elements seemed limited or tightly controlled. No widely shared hospital arrival photographs, very few public confirmations from medical staff, and almost no independent witnesses publicly stepping forward. That absence created curiosity. Not proof of anything by itself, but enough for online communities to begin comparing timelines, analyzing public appearances, and questioning whether everything aligned exactly as presented. When public interest reaches that level, every detail becomes magnified. Some commentators highlighted differences in how dates, appearances, and public engagements lined up during that period. Others pointed to the extremely private handling of information, unusual for moments that traditionally involve high visibility. In highly structured institutions, deviations from established patterns naturally generate attention. Public figures often balance privacy with transparency, especially when family milestones attract global attention. But when pieces of the timeline appear difficult to verify independently, speculation tends to grow louder. People begin revisiting earlier questions, looking for consistency across years of public statements. Critics argue that the pattern they see involves tight narrative control. Supporters argue that increased privacy was necessary due to intense media pressure. Both perspectives exist simultaneously, creating an environment where every small detail is interpreted in dramatically different ways.
But I thought at the time I wasn't going to touch it because Doria is Meghan's mother. Doria has nothing to do with Meghan and Harry. And any of the mischief they're getting up to. And it really wouldn't be right of me to bring up what Doria's past has been or the speculation about her past. So I gave it a totally wide berth. But after the Netflix series, where Doria is so clearly pushing fire, this is and she's a real Uriah Heep. And it's racism. Everything is racism. Racism. I thought, no, you're right in there pushing the racist far.
Meanwhile, media analysts began revisiting earlier chapters: education timelines, career progression, social connections, and family relationships, looking for alignment across public records. When multiple unanswered questions appear within the same broader story, curiosity naturally increases. Some observers believe the issue is not about any single event, but about whether the overall timeline remains internally consistent. Others argue that public figures deserve boundaries, particularly when personal health and family matters are involved. But one thing remains consistent: when timelines contain gaps, when details appear selectively shared, and when individuals connected to earlier chapters continue speaking publicly, interest does not fade, it grows. And once public curiosity reaches that level, every earlier chapter begins receiving renewed attention. When Archie was first introduced publicly, viewers immediately noticed how carefully controlled the moment appeared. Cameras kept a noticeable distance, limiting what could be clearly observed. Every movement, every frame, every gesture became intensely analyzed by online audiences looking for consistency with the timeline that had been presented. Soon after, clips from earlier appearances began circulating again. Some viewers claimed certain visual details did not match what they personally expected to see during pregnancy stages. One commenter, identifying themselves as a medical professional with obstetrics experience, suggested that visible physical indicators during a major televised interview appeared more consistent with medical hormone support rather than a typical pregnancy presentation. This was presented as professional opinion rather than anonymous speculation, which caused the discussion to spread further online.
About everything in 2018. One question: when that book comes out, do you think the full story?
Then came the second birth announcement, which some critics say followed a similar communication pattern. Limited hospital visibility, delayed documentation becoming publicly available weeks later, and continued emphasis on privacy created another situation where curiosity expanded faster than confirmed details. Thomas Markle Jr. has publicly claimed in interviews that a past medical procedure may have taken place, even providing an approximate timeline for when he believes it occurred. He has repeated this statement consistently over time, which has led some commentators to question whether alternative family-building methods could have been used privately. It is important to note that none of these claims have been officially confirmed publicly, and medical information remains highly personal. Legal analysts sometimes reference historical wording in royal succession traditions, referring to heirs being born of the body, language originating centuries ago that is rarely discussed today. Institutions typically avoid commenting on private health matters, which can leave certain questions unanswered in the public sphere. Supporters argue that privacy rights remain essential, particularly regarding medical history and family matters. Critics argue that public narratives should remain fully consistent across time. These competing perspectives continue fueling debate without producing definitive resolution. When multiple relatives speak publicly from different positions within the same family history, audiences often attempt to compare their accounts looking for overlap. Some see recurring themes regarding timeline clarity, personal distance, and narrative consistency. Others view the situation as a reflection of complex family dynamics rather than evidence of hidden facts. Looking at the broader picture presented by commentators, the debate often centers less on individual events and more on whether the full timeline aligns smoothly from beginning to present day. Public image, personal history, and family relationships do not always unfold neatly under global attention. Thomas Markle Jr. has announced that his upcoming book will describe specific moments from earlier years, including people he claims played roles in shaping the timeline before Suits brought widespread recognition. His previous statements in 2018 drew attention, and now observers are waiting to see whether additional details emerge or whether unanswered questions remain part of ongoing public speculation. One key question continues to circulate among commentators. When new accounts appear, do they finally clarify the timeline or simply add another layer to an already complicated public story? If you've got thoughts on this, drop them in the comments. Let's hear what you think. If this breakdown opened your eyes, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to see it.